Yo, hey, yo, it is two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. I am your host, Dominic DeAngelo of WrestleZone.com, and I am here with my degenerate brother who is not of WrestleZone.com, Marcus DeAngelo. Marcus, hey, welcome to Two Dynamite Dudes. This is episode 55, I want to say.
You know what, Dom, I think at this point we can say I'm kind of WrestleZone.com. Sort of.
Whoa! Hey,
a little bit, right?
Bridges, aren't you?
So maybe a little bit of WrestleZone.com.
Indirectly of WrestleZone.com?
I think on the periphery of WrestleZone.com. Nesha,
on
what's
the
up?
fringe of WrestleZone.com.
Nesha, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody being here. Thanks for joining us. Yo, I actually don't see how many people are in the stream right now.
22, I think we got, at least according to StreamYard here. We might have more.
Man.
I don't know how everything works.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, feel free to write in with comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, any other word that starts with C.
Yes.
Or Q. And yeah, let's Dominic, let's fire this thing up. How you doing?
We're live. So yeah, as Marcus said, we could join on in and engage with us, talk with us a little bit. It was a very, I think, productive episode of AEW Dynamite. Would you agree with that, Marcus?
I would agree with that, Dom. Before we jump into that, though, why don't you and I talk about how productive we have been recently?
Yes, we have.
Right? We had a banger of an interview.
A newsworthy interview, nonetheless. How about it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. There's breaking news in there, kind of, and at the very least, some really interesting things were said. Yeah.
So obviously, guys, if you haven't seen it, we interviewed Eddie Kingston this past week, and it was a very, very good conversation. He addressed his AEW post Dynamite address the week before last, how he talked about the competition. And you know what, Marcus, we're in this even before we started the interview. We're like, we're in the same boat as Eddie. Like it's
stupid. It's silly that anybody would take offense to that. Look, I mean, this is the wrestling business, right? It used to be promoters literally holding each other up with guns at one point. I would say that we've evolved pretty well to this point. Let's just enjoy the competition. I think WWE guys should be getting on there trashing Eddie Kingston.
Shouldn't they be? And that's what he said too. He's like, if AEW's my home team, I would expect them, if they're allowed to do that for their home team.
If I was somebody like Cesaro, who I believe, I can't say this for sure, but I believe he's close personal friends with Eddie Kingston, I'd get on the mic and just trash him. I would get on the mic and just light him up and be like, hey,
garbage. Even if you're buddies, you'd be like, hey man, I'm gonna trash you like crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why? Yeah. Like, why not?
How fun is that? That's what I don't get it. I don't get why people get so ruffled up about it, and like Eddie said, butthurt about it. Like some were butthurt. Like
it was ridiculous.
It's just and did you read the full thing that Bubba Ray Dudley said, or Bully Ray?
I did.
Okay, so he was supportive of Eddie, but he was also called him out, which. Even that, why? Bubba Ray was part of the Attitude Era.
He was off base, dude. He came from ECW, where it was like you're talking.
Yeah, you're talking shit on everybody. And that's even what Eddie said. He grew up watching ECW. He even told us directly he would probably not be friends with us because we were WCW kids.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, it's all in the spirit of competition. We should all just have fun. Nesha brought it up here. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Thank you, for being here with us. And, and let's all enjoy our nation's independence tomorrow. Nesha, she also saying that she's been waiting since Wednesday for the show. Really appreciate that. We love talking AEW Dynamite. And Dominic, let's not waste any more damn time.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. If you guys do want to check out that interview, be sure to just go on the WrestleZone podcast. Just type in WrestleZone, scroll down, and I think there's 2 different episodes that you can check out that have the Eddie interview in it. So take a look there. It's also on the YouTube.
On the YouTube. And I mean, dude, what a gentleman Eddie was. We couldn't have been nicer, more gracious with his time. Big Eddie Kingston fan before we had the interview. Even bigger Eddie Kingston fan after talking to him in person. Just a cool, personable guy, down to earth, good perspective.
Yeah, and straight shooting too. It was great to see that. It's like that's what you want about wrestling is authenticity, and Eddie brings the authenticity. There's no doubt about it. Really great interview. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a real good time. So
Michael is putting over your glasses huge right now. I think you should know that.
Oh, my glasses. Hey, thanks. I'm like sick of wearing these on the air because like I'm getting the glare from the computer. So it's like you can't even see my face. I just don't have contacts right now, or else I wouldn't be wearing them.
Oh, Dom, order contacts. Come on.
I do. I'm waiting on them to call me and be like, hey, pick them up, asshole. But that hasn't happened yet. So I'm still waiting. But yeah, Marcus, productive episode of Dynamite. What was your biggest takeaway, would you say?
It's kind of same old song for me, Dominic. Every week, every time he comes out there, I'm just more impressed, and that's Miro. That match between he and Brian Pillman was exactly what it was supposed to be. And both of them nailed their role in it to a T. Even the finish, Dom, where Pillman passes out as opposed to tapping out. It's like, yes, perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to go over. He shouldn't go over. But come on now. Let's not make him tap out. Let's not kill him because this is clearly a rising star. So have him just pass out, Stone Cold Steve Austin style.
And he put up a good fight. And but it's also like it's just kind of showing you the lay of the land right now is all it is. It's like, hey, this is where Miro stands right now. Brian Pillman Jr. is a tough, scrappy fighter right now that won't quit on his friends or anything like that. And he just conveyed the story there, and it told a very well done story, I thought overall. And I thought it was a highlight of a decent show overall. I would say that I liked ultimately. Yeah, I think, my biggest takeaway, and you know what? It really says to something. Week in and week out, there's something to talk about the Young Bucks with. And, I mean, this week, dude, they were the Boogie Night Bucks, the Allman, or as Jericho said, the Allman Brothers. They look like the Allman Brothers. And fucking Marcus, it was just only a minor, part of the episode overall, but it was like a huge... it still stuck with you, you know what I mean? So it's just like, what'd you think of that? And ultimately, how the tag match portrayed and went about with Eddie, friend of the show, Eddie Kingston.
I thought it was great, Dominic. When they came out with those mustaches, it was like beautiful, perfect, love it. I just love the fact that they're just like sort of their characters are that they completely lack self-awareness, and having stupid mustaches just it punctuates it really well. Then of course Kenny Omega came out. He looked like $1 million with that thing, Dom. I think that's the best. That's the best that Kenny Omega has looked is with that.
Oh, you like that?
Harley race style, yeah.
Harley race,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he looked great.
You can tell they're trolling everybody though.
Yes, and dude, it was awesome. And by the way, that match, I mean, let's just talk about the match, dude. I mean, that match was awesome. I thought it was a tremendous match all the way around, and we got quite a surprise finish. I didn't think that they stood a chance.
Oh, you didn't think they were gonna win?
No, I didn't. I thought that it was like they added that stip, where it's like if they win, they get a shot at the tag team titles. I thought it was like just trying to kind of throw us off the scent. But yeah, I didn't think that they were going to go over in that. Yeah.
I expected them to go over, just because, they're going to build up to a tag match. And, it's just it's an interesting direction. Now it's a street fight. The tag match for the titles is a street fight on Road Rager next week. What is your expectations of that? Do you think, is there a chance that they could win the belts? Could they actually win the belts, Penta and Eddie?
I'll tell you what, that would really throw everybody off the scent, and I'd be on board for it. But no, I don't think that there's any chance they do. I think that the idea right now is to prove that the Young Bucks can scrap, they can just be in a knockdown, drag out fight and win. I think that that's sort of AEW's objective right now, and that's certainly one way to go about it. I would hate that it would be at the expense of friend of the show Eddie Kingston. But, it is what it is. I don't think that there's any possibility that that the Bucks, that is, don't win that match.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I think there's just a different direction that Penta and Eddie are going. I could see, I think it was Meltzer? I can't remember who said it. But somebody said that maybe we could see Eddie in the mix for a world title, match against Kenny at some point. Like he's somebody that challenges for the world title. I could really much see that. I mean, you look at how it happened in that match. Like the crowd was chanting Eddie like crazy. Like he's
over. He's over. No doubt about it. As he put it, he's like the hot girl at the party right now.
Yeah, right. The hot girl at the party. Everybody's trying to get it. Take this shot.
Net's just calling us out because we're like putting over Eddie Kingston in our interview with him. It's true though. We're gonna keep doing the shout outs.
We are. Hey, we interviewed Thunder Rosa too, by the way.
Oh yeah, go back and check that shit out. Dominic interviewed the Fawns.
I'll plug that later.
But yeah, great opener, great way to start the Dynamite. Kind of gets everybody up and excited, and the kind of the surprise, at least to me, surprise victory. It was just like, all right, let's go. I'm ready for the rest of this program. Let's go. Yeah,
man. Yeah, it was a really good opener. It kicked it off in a very fun way, and the Bucks' reaction to everything was just really good. It's really good, and just how the commentators are like, look at how they look ridiculous. Like they're calling him out on it, all that stuff, and how they're kind of disgusted with all of it.
Hey, Dom, Michael is bringing up a point here. He's saying AEW, just like TNA, they need to open up a wrestling school and get their own wrestlers. Stop grabbing WWE guys. They kind of do, right? With the Nightmare Factory. Yeah, I think that they sort of are trying to develop their own talent. And, we've seen some, I mean, I don't know where Anthony Ogogo has been, but I love that guy. I think he's awesome.
Oh, it's true. He hasn't been on television.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think he's an absolute star. So they sort of do kind of have their own school.
Yeah. You look at like Brock Anderson too. He's been training down there. A lot of talents too that were like on the independent scene. Who was talking to me that they were friends with? Oh, Cheeseburger, I think, or CB, the world famous CB now, as he's known. I think he was talking to me that Garcia, the one wrestler Garcia, was training.
You're really getting your shit in this week.
I gotta stop.
Good grief. Well. As far as stopping with the WWE guys, Dominic and I have discussed this at length. I don't know that that's necessarily the right move. You look at WCW and the wild success that they had. Most of that was largely due to bringing in talent from other places, right? Whether it's ECW, WWF. So yeah, I think that that's kind of the formula, right? You have stars that you have built and established. So in this case, it would be somebody like Kenny Omega, somebody like Darby Allin, like these people that Orange Cassidy that are just associated with AEW, and then you put them in positions against guys from other places where we get to have some of those fantasy matchups. Like you can't tell me that it wouldn't be exciting if all of a sudden Seth Rollins was taking on Kenny Omega, right?
Oh, sure. And I like Seth Rollins made a mention of that, like, I want to say like a year and a half ago or something on like After the Bell when that started, that podcast with Corey Graves started to get some buzz. He mentioned he name dropped Kenny Omega on there and stuff. So,
yeah. It'd be awesome. Yeah, it would turn the dials. So, no, I say if you can get your hands on former WWE talent, do it. I mean, look at Miro. All of a sudden, new paint of coat, as Bruce Pritchard likes to say. And, now he's the next Goldberg.
Yeah, man, it's they're setting some things up really well. I thought who they set up very well too was in the main event with Sammy Guevara and MJF. People were kind of saying like, "Oh man, like too much schmoz at the end and things like that." I see the point, and you could make a good argument for that. Like, hey, it's let's get a straight up ending, because I did kind of want that too, because it was a really, really good match between those two.
It was.
Like, you wanted to see like a clean ending, but I understood the reasoning to do what they did too. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it. It's kind of sort of like the cheap way out. I get it, but I also think that it protects Sammy Guevara, and it gives MJF the victory, which of course, he should actually. Nesha's saying, can't believe that MJF won. I don't know. I was expecting it just because he's clearly going into a program with Chris Jericho. But then again, it was like throughout the match, the false finishes, and I mean, they had me a number of times where I was just like, oh, there it is, that's the finish.
Yeah.
But those guys had like an absolute throwdown. Sammy Guevara looked like $1 million. I think more than anything though, MJF came out of that looking great.
He did look great. It was, and like he did some stuff that was like out of his wheelhouse a little bit, He did. He did that like front flip up onto his feet, and just kind of like showing Sammy like, hey man, I can do all that shit too. And that was sort of like, that was the theme of the match. I can do that shit too, right? Yeah. I marked out for the Fargo struts.
Yes, yes. And it was just like kind of this back and forth battle. So I mean, that's what we ultimately want in a main event. That's the best way to close a show. This back and forth battle, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was good. It was really good. And I'm curious what's the next step. Obviously, Jericho, is gonna, is he taking a challenge? He accepted the challenge, right? They gotta. Oh, MJF has stipulations for him. I think almost like he did with Cody in their feud. And then it's gonna go into that. What do you think of that aspect?
Yeah, I am hoping that MJF goes over. I think that it's the only correct move. MJF is just trending upward and has been for a long time. And getting a clean victory or even like a dirty victory over somebody like Chris Jericho, it's just going to continue to help kind of write his story. I think that we're going to get a babyface champion next in AEW. This is my prediction, folks. Take it to the bank. We're going to get a babyface champion next in AEW, and then the champion after that is going to be MJF.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds
so in all likelihood, it'll be Hangman Page. We'll get the strap, and he'll hold it for a while. But then MJF is going to take it off him. That's my prediction.
I think very much that's the story they're telling. Is like, and I mean, we even have pure indication of that. On this week's episode when Kenny came out and then was interrupted by Dark Order, and then the follow up backstage with Hangman and him kind of like avoiding the subject, but like Dark Order being like, "Hey, it's your time now. Like, let's get a move on with it." How do you think about? You mentioned Kenny's look and everything. How did you think about Kenny? What he did, what Dark Order did, and then what Hangman did, and then what Dark Order did again? What did you think of all that stuff? Hey guys, we'll get to your questions too. So I'm making note. I'm trying to make note of everything that's been asked.
Yeah, actually, let's put a pin in that question you just asked me. Let's jump into a couple of these, Dom.
Okay. So Michael, I wanted to Marcus. This is kind of an interesting question. Do you remember the first wrestling match you watched?
The earliest memory I have, now I know I watched some of it before then. I'm sure that I watched some $1 Million Man. I know for sure I had seen some Ultimate Warrior back in the day, but the first just match I remember sitting down and watching start to finish, it was Bob Holly versus a Job Guy, I think on Superstars. And I became a Bob Holly fan. I was like, all right, Sparkplug Bob Holly. That's my guy.
He was your first favorite. Yeah,
he was my first favorite wrestler. He had the cool checkerboard racing stripe thing going on, and I was just
for the 90s.
Yeah, I was like, hey, there he is. There's my guy. I love his mullet. Love his physique. There is my favorite guy.
Sparkplug. Now,
what about you, Dom?
Well, was that the same program we were watching or something? Because I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I remember.
I think it was. I think Razor Ramon wrestled later on.
Yeah, because he might have wrestled like a Job Guy or just like a squash kind of match or something like that. That's like the kind of, and that was like what? I mean, my memory is not great, so it's hey, speaking of Scott.
Oh, hey.
No, that was like my first memory, and I was like what 10 or 9 or something like that, and my memory's awful. So but odds are when I was a kid, like super young, I did probably watch a Hulk Hogan match because he was my guy, but I don't remember that too far back into it. Marcus, you haven't been watching Impact, but Michael also says Omega is not helping Impact at all here. I think he is in certain ways. Like, I think the viewership has gone up. Now, no, you know what? Overall, I'm trying to think, like, over the course of the past few weeks, in accordance to last year's ratings with Impact, they've been down a little bit, but I think it's created some buzz for Impact. And it's kind of re-legitimized Impact, because Impact has just kind of been all right, forgetful, stuff like that. Like since Kenny, like their connection with AEW has helped them, I think, ultimately in the grand scheme of things. Maybe it might not be by a numbers standpoint, but I think overall it has. Now, the big problem is they're not getting a whole lot of rub on Dynamite. You don't hear anything about Impact on Dynamite. Like, I think maybe they mentioned the title once on there or something like that.
So in my opinion, and this is just outside looking in because I haven't watched much of what Kenny's doing, but I kind of know the gist of what's going on over there. So outside looking in, my perspective on it is that Kenny Omega is helping them in a very short-term fashion, and that he's getting more eyeballs on the product, which thereby possibly gets new viewers to the product. Like maybe somebody will watch the entire program hoping to see Kenny Omega, and they'll see somebody else in a match and be like, "Oh, that guy's awesome! I'm gonna watch next week and see what Brian Myers does." Do something like that. So it's good in the short term, bad in the long term, possibly for Impact, because Kenny Omega is going in there and he's just like, he's showing, oh, is this guy your champion? I'm just going to beat him, take his belt, take it back onto my TV. So like once Kenny Omega goes away, he has not done them any favors, but short term, he's doing them favors.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the issue I have. And I don't know if people feel the same way I do. But who Impact is pushing in their main event is what I take umbrance with in a lot of ways. They have Moose and they have Sammy Callahan. Those are the two guys that they're really trying to get over. And I just don't see a lot in them, either of them. Like Sammy is facing Kenny Omega at Slammiversary. So basically Impact's WrestleMania, that we're all familiar with. And it just does not tie. It does not work, I don't think. And Sammy's been somebody that's been there in Impact. If you're wanting to get somebody over, get a new star over. Like, get a new guy over, like a Trey Miguel, like a Chris Bay, like Jake something who's humongous, or Joe Doring, who's like just a Stan Hansen like kind of looking dude, or W. Morrissey, like who's doing great work there. I am always a big fan of Willie Mack, but the issue is, all these guys are new, like to the program, so it's like you need time to build them, and you put all your chips in guys like Moose and Sammy, who I don't think do it. I don't think they do it. And you know what? At this point, I would have loved to see somebody like an established star then that people associate Impact with. So like I'm a huge fan of James Storm. I think they really if they were going to have a Slammiversary, have James Storm, somebody that's synonymous with Impact and TNA and all that stuff, face Kenny Omega for that title at Slammiversary. And if he loses, that's fine. Have Kenny keep going on that run. But then work towards building your other stars, your younger stars that you haven't given that opportunity to. Because, Marcus, we watched Impact TNA, like we were big TNA people, like kids. Not
2009, 2010 down there. Yeah.
So it's like, and this is like perfect example of what Impact back then did. Then whereas like, okay, why aren't you putting all your chips in with Samoa Joe? Or why aren't you throwing all your chips in, like going full hog with AJ Styles here? Or somebody like a Matt Morgan or Christopher Daniels, like guys, names that were there for them and ready to go. But they just kept, as much as we like, the Scott Halls and the Kevin Nashes and the Booker
Mick Foley and all the people, those people were old, and they're of more value putting talent over.
Yes.
And that's where a guy like Matt Cardona could be really handy for them. Is like, yeah, you build him up, bring him in, make him look like a stud, and then have him do a job for somebody that you wanna kick down the road.
Yes.
So it's I definitely see your point.
It's just Impact. Now that all that said, Impact is a very fun and solid show to watch week in and week out. What they do overall, like Scott D'Amore as like the authority figure, is very good, and then just the overall presentation and execution of a product that doesn't have a crowd in front of it is very good. There's guys you can root behind and gals you can get behind and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff. The only exception I take is really who they're positioning in the main event pictures. Is that Sammy Callahan and Moose, who they're not connected. They're not connecting with me. And I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way. I really don't.
Hey, let's do one more and then we'll jump back into your question for me.
Did you find one that?
Yeah. Steven Chambers is saying, looks like building up Omega versus Hangman for the next pay-per-view, maybe potential match of the year candidate. What are your thoughts on, so that's kind of the direction we're moving in, right? It actually pairs pretty well with our next topic that you had asked me about. So let me just jump into that real quick. More and more, it makes me laugh every time. So like, didn't that kind of remind you of an 80s movie where like, so Kenny Omega comes out heel, bad guy, bully in an 80s movie. And then all of a sudden, like all the nerds band together and they're just like, hey, wait a minute, like we got somebody, the jock on the football team.
Maybe we're not good enough. But...
Right. The star quarterback who hangs out with us sometimes, he's good enough. And but what was really funny about that was that Kenny, as he's getting ready to leave, he walks through this group of guys and just like looks all of them in the eye as he's walking out, like, go ahead, try it. He was doing the whole like, go ahead, try to do something. And like nobody did anything. And I'm like, that it was awesome, and that it builds Kenny Omega where it's just like this guy does not give a fuck, but it doesn't do anything for the Dark Order at all.
Yeah, and you know what? They have some guys there that like you can like build up more and more too. So I mean, like Preston.
Oh, dude, it was great though. Like he walks right past Uno in his stupid suit, and he just like looks right at him, and he like looks at some of the other guys, like, "Go ahead, try something." And like nobody did anything. He like just walks out, and it was great.
Yeah, Kenny's really good.
Oh, dude, Kenny Omega with that look. I love the Harley Race look. I love the fact that he's coming out like wearing these suits. I love that he acts like he's using cocaine all the time. I like everything about him is perfect right now. Yeah. So I agree with a lot of what Jim Cornette has to say, but when it comes to Kenny Omega, I could not disagree more. I think that this is prime, perfect, the best Kenny Omega we've seen.
Now, that brings me to the one topic, but do we want to talk about Hangman here real quick? So I do think that could be a match of the year candidate, Hangman and Kenny. I mean, they've been building to it and stuff like that. The concern I have is that they're gonna lean too much into we don't want despondent Hangman again. That's what we don't want.
Right.
We want motivated ass kicking Hangman, and hopefully this is kind of Dark Order. I don't want them to slow play this. Because it could slow the momentum down. Now, if they just did it like that and we see fire from Hangman next week or at least the week after, then I'm okay with it. I just that's the only kind of concern I have is I don't want to despondent Hangman. We want fun beer drinking, hey, cool jock guy ready to kick some ass Hangman. That's what we want.
My concern is that it feels like they're hot-shotting the angle a little bit, where I would like to, I think Kenny Omega is really, he is full stride right now. He's perfect. He's hitting the apex, right? And I don't think you should put a stop to it. And having Hangman Page take the belt off him, I think could kind of pump the brakes on what Kenny's doing right now, which I don't want them to do. I want Kenny to go off for another 6 months and just cocky beating everybody, and then just just keep doing what he's doing. Just this dude who's a ball of fire of just crazy assholeness, but you can't stop him. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to see that continue. But, that being said, you and I have talked about it before. I think it's an inevitability that Hangman Page is going to be the AEW champion.
I think so. People gave some pretty good suggestions, too, to who challenged for the title. Dreamer, that's a great one. Steven Chambers says Tommy Dreamer. He would have been a good one to have, too. It's the guy from way the past, going up against Kenny, where you can have that as a match on pay-per-view. Now, Slammiversary, maybe not, but, it would be more intriguing than Sami Callihan and Moose. Chris Sabin, somebody associated with AEW. TNA, Nesha says. So there's a couple good suggestions. Marcus, were you going to say something? Marcus? Uh-oh. He's frozen. Or he's just staring at me. But hopefully he gets back here. Hopefully you're hearing me. Is Marcus frozen, guys? Let me know. Because he looks frozen to me. It's such a funny fucking picture. But okay. Somebody says use Johnny. DJ says use Johnny Swinger. I love Johnny Swinger. He's so great. He's my favorite part about Impact. Marcus, I'm fucking back. Froze, and it was such a hilarious photo. You're just looking at me. It was so fucking funny.
I wish you could have screen grabbed it. Damn it.
Oh, don't worry. I'll have time to screen grab it.
Hey, and by the way, I don't know if it's my internet or what, but if that continues to happen, obviously just keep doing it, and I think I'll be able to jump back in just like I have just now.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. I hope it happens again almost. So okay, trying to get back on track here with the with Impact. Yeah, Marcus, I think that's the route to take with the Hangman. I am with you in a lot of ways. Kenny's doing really great work, and I almost, I think they have to really do heat Hangman up a little bit more. But I wouldn't mind seeing Kenny hold on to that title for a while either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
well, and I've said it on this show week after week where I'm just like, I want long-term angle. I want these champions to hold their belts for long periods of time and then do the job where it means more,
Now, would this be a bad thing though? Say Hangman beats Kenny, and then they go into a feud for a while, and like it's like they have almost like what they're doing with McGregor and what's the guy he's fighting, Poirier or something like that.
I think that could work. So if Hangman,
almost like a Hogan and Sting,
right? So if Hangman does beat him, which if they have a match, Hangman should beat him. So if Hangman does beat him, then Kenny's like, I have a rematch clause, and you can then continue that angle for months and maybe even swap the belt one or two more times during that period. Even though I'm not crazy about changing the belt, changing hands often, I think that if it's to further an angle, I think that's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. DJ's mentions this next week. Team Taz will have the full implosion. Starks will upset Cage with help, and then Cage will be kicked out of Team Taz. Now, DJ, before we talk about that, I think that's in a couple weeks. That's like July 14th in Austin, because next week's in Miami. I know it's going to be that match is going to be in Ricky Starks' stomping grounds in Austin, Texas. So I think that's on July 14th. But yeah, that's what's going to look like going to happen, huh? I think Ricky Starks might be the new FTW champion coming up when he's medically cleared to wrestle against his old Team Taz teammate, Brian Cage. Marcus.
Hey, so by the way, Dominic, and I kind of hope that happens. It's what should happen. Ricky Starks is a star, a budding star at the very least. And so, you need to position him as like Taz's top guy. But that being said, I was reading something online a while back, and I would like to get people's opinions on it. So apparently, when Brian Cage first broke in, after having been trained by Chris Kanyon, he would occasionally take up the Mortis gimmick.
Really?
There's pictures of him out there wearing the Mortis gimmick. And so this was on Twitter, and I was like, this should be what he does. Like every once in a, like he should be Brian Cage for the most part, but then if it's like a real serious match or it's something big, he should be Mortis,
like Finn Balor, the Demon.
Exactly. And I think that could be a good way to transition into that, where like he jobs out to Team Taz, maybe kind of like gets the crap beat out of him or something, even does a stretcher job, and then when he returns as Mortis. I don't know. I think it could be really cool.
Might be pretty neat. I don't know. I have to see what he looks like in the Mortis outfit. That's interesting now.
Yeah. It was on Twitter, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, that is awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Let's see. Nesha says, when do y'all think Christian and Matt Hardy will finally fight?
Gotta be soon, right? They're kind of they've taken that about as far as they can, as far as I'm concerned. I think Matt Hardy, I like Matt Hardy, but I think he's looking rough. I think he's looking very stiff out there in the ring. Whereas and you can really see the juxtaposition between him and Christian Cage, where Christian Cage is like still very fluid movement. Like he's top of his game still, where Matt Hardy is very stiff out there, doesn't quite move as well as he used to, which I'm not trashing Matt Hardy. I like Matt Hardy, but I want to see this get done and over with. Yeah,
I think it's just I think it's going to happen sooner than later, Nesha, if I had to guess, because, I think there's just more. I think it's just it's something that an obvious feud that you'd want to see, and I think they're going to give it to us. And I don't think I'm not even going to say it's going to happen at All Out. I think it'll happen before All Out, if I had to guess. It'll be like one of these matches on Dynamite, one of the headline matches maybe for the week, that'd be like, hey, Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage is going to happen. I think we'll probably get something to that effect.
And the other way to go with Kenny Omega is, if Omega loses to Hangman Page, maybe then we transition into a feud between him and Christian Cage. I don't know. There's a lot of directions to go. I think that Christian still has a ton to offer. So, certainly take advantage of him and get him out of feuds with guys who just aren't quite capable of going at the same level as he is. And I hate to say it, but that's Matt Hardy at this point. Nesha saying she thinks the TLC matches got him. got both of them. But I gotta say, Christian Cage is still looking like $1 million out there. Dominic DJ saying, do you guys see Brian Pillman Jr. as a possible guy who can take out Omega as champion? No, not right now. I think, especially given the fact that he just did a job for Miro. Not that it's a bad thing. If he should have done the job for Miro, but I think that right now he's more of like basically like a mid card guy who's slowly working his way up through the rankings.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you don't want to rush him, just like you don't want to rush who's the other town I was thinking of? Like, Jungle Boy to that position. Like, it would have been, you could have made it work, I think, if he upset Kenny. But I think there's just more to tell with him, and I think there's a lot more to tell with Brian Pillman. So, I don't, I don't see him up like the one to beat Kenny.
Thing is, it's, and WWE kind of had the formula down back in the day where, like, if they thought that, okay, I can see this guy being a WWF champion eventually, a lot of times they would try to see how the crowd would react to you as Intercontinental champion. They're like, okay, let's try him with the Intercontinental strap. Let's see how he does. Or they'd say, like, okay, how about have him win King of the Ring? Have him win the Royal Rumble. Let's just see how people react to this guy who we like, and we want to see how he does. And that's how they that was sort of like their vetting process. Lex Luger is a good example where he co-won the Royal Rumble with Bret Hart, and they were pushing him really strong. But then eventually Vince is just like, nah, he doesn't have it. Not going to do it. And that's part of like the feeling out process. So I think that guys like, Jungle Boy, and I think that guys like Brian Pillman Jr. they need to get a little bit more name cachet in AEW before we even pair them or put them in a position to win against Kenny. Now, I guess Jungle Boy sort of did. He won that Royal Rumble type match to get his shot at Kenny. But it's what I'm saying, where it's like basically let's put them in a position where they're going to get a little bit more attention and see how it goes.
And same with Orange Cassidy too. He was in the same position too. He got the was in the triple threat world title match, and like then he didn't win, but like he was up there, and so like he's somebody that's going to be more thought later on. You mentioned it, Jungle Boy. I wanted to talk about this. You talked about Cornette too, and like what he said, how you agree with him on a lot of stuff, you don't agree with him on Kenny, and I'm in the same boat too. I think it's just part of that show is them hating.
And a lot of it's shock and awe, just trying to get reactions out of people.
Yes. So, he said in this past week they mentioned something about Jungle Boy being boring. And like they don't see what's in him. Like
no facial expressions. He's not. He's like not reacting big enough.
And my thought is like he's over. Like he comes out there and the crowd pops for him, and that song helps. And then on top of that, obviously having conveying passion and like fighting spirit and all that stuff is important, and you do want that. And like hopefully he will. I'm sure he'll get that. I'm sure he'll be able to show that sometime down the line. But the thing is too, is you think about it, and like I was trying to think about who would be a good comp in regards to this, and I think somebody that might be a fair comparison. Now people would be like, oh, how could you compare him to that? Like I think Ricky Steamboat in a lot of ways, like because Ricky is great in the ring. He was able to convey himself like through body language and selling and all that stuff, and what an ultimate baby like face in a lot of ways. But like he wasn't known to be on the mic. You don't.
I think that's a perfect example where like this guy's capable of having unbelievable matches, just like Steamboat was. But like you don't stick a mic in his face often because he's not a strong promo. And I think that he could stand to show a little bit more fire. Him being Jungle Boy, he could definitely stand to show a little bit more fire. But like I don't know, Nesha is saying it. He's not boring. He's young. He's just got stuff to learn. I think she hit the nail on the head. He's still kind of fresh face, new to the business. Give him a little time, coach him up a little bit, but he's gonna be fine. I think that Cornette, he's a little harsh at times as well.
And I think some of that stuff's just off base, and it's just like you get into that thing where it's like their whole thing is to review AEW, and it's ultimately has an over the Charlie Brown rain cloud over it. It's like everything's gonna get report on.
They always want to go negative. Which
There's not going to be, if they have an option to go negative or not, it's going to go negative.
Yeah, Cornette very rarely puts over anything on AEW, but I don't think he puts over much of anything in professional wrestling today. So like, he's again, it's like, think of like old school football players, guys like Otto Graham. You think when he was like watching, Deion Sanders, he liked him? Probably not. But Deion Sanders was the future of football. Football changed, and guess what? Wrestling's doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. There's something that somebody mentioned too. Oh, Steven, we did make our predictions for Kingston and Penta. We think the Bucks will win in the street fight.
They will, and it's to establish that the Bucks can go, that the Bucks are tough and they can hang in there. This is kind of like the Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell match moment, where it's just like, okay, like he's like this quote unquote sexy boy, pretty boy type guy, but hey, he can take and give a beating as well.
Yes. Let me see. There's definitely more to talk. Oh, how about like this segment with Sting, Darby Allin, Ethan Page? I thought it was a real strong promo from Ethan Page, and it was. Like Sting dragging out the coffin was like obvious, but I thought it was still a cool moment, and I like the video that Darby did too. I thought that it was all kind of a neat stuff. What do you think about all that?
So yeah, good promo by Ethan Page. Our close personal friend Eddie Kingston said that he's kind of like a sleeper on the roster right now, and I agree. I think that he's one of those guys. He's kind of got everything that you want in a pro wrestler. He's got good size, good look, good promo, good ring skills. So I think that I would keep your eyes peeled for Ethan Page. I think he's got a bright future. But as far as that casket was concerned, so like Sting brings it out and it's got like the sheet over it and stuff, and I was like, oh sweet. I was like, I think they're gonna do the old like Undertaker Diesel angle where like they look inside the coffin and it's like Ethan Page inside the coffin, right? I was like, oh, this is gonna be sweet. But then he just like pulls the top off and Darby Allin just like jumps out like a fucking spider monkey and like runs down to the ring. And I was like, oh, why have the sheet then? Like if it was a closed coffin, I don't know. The whole thing just seemed really silly to me, and pointless. So I don't know. I wanted the whole like you show and there's like a wax dummy of Ethan Page in there, and while he's freaking out, Darby's sneaking up behind him.
I just don't.
I don't know. I think that's where it's at, dude.
Nah, I don't like that. That's just.
I think that kind of shit works, dude.
Nah, I don't think so. Not today. They made a wax dummy of Diesel?
No. So actually what they wound up doing, the casket was empty, but Diesel sold it on in front of the live crowd. Like he saw himself in there. So he sold it like that while the casket was empty. But then when they went back and edited the tape, they just had Kevin Nash laying in the casket and they just filmed like a super close up of his face laying in the casket.
See, that would have been weak too, Marcus. How did it now, if they did it like Darby's been doing with like how he's been like wearing the masks of people, like the distorted masks of people.
See, now there's a good solution, and it's way cheaper than paying somebody to make a wax dummy.
Or doing movie magic or whatever the fuck.
So close up of Darby Allin's face with Ethan Page's face over his, and then he like rips it off and then comes after Page. Now that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But they should have done something like that, just like mind games, trying to get inside his head.
Yeah, something to that effect.
You're not getting inside a motherfucker's head by just coming and jumping and springing out of a casket like you were spring loaded.
Well, he did gouge his eyes pretty bad, enough to fucking make him postpone the match a week.
Gouged his eyes.
That was some Game of Thrones shit. End of season 4.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm into eye gouging, but then again, it worked for Terry Funk on numerous occasions.
Yes. Michael, we'll answer these real quick. When is Cena coming back? Cena is maybe SummerSlam. Bray Wyatt, I don't know about Bray Wyatt, but probably SummerSlam. I'd say SummerSlam for both of those. Okay. What else was there, Marcus? There's another good match I think I wanted to mention. Oh, well, I mean, we talked about Jungle Boy. That was a good match with him and Evans, right? Jack Evans.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that Jack Evans did fine in that match. Again, he's filling a role, and he filled it admirably. He did a good job.
Yeah. Okay, so Nyla Rose and Vickie Guerrero tagging against Britt Baker and Rebel.
Nesha, ladies match. She wants to hear about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, well, I'll let you go first, Tom. What was your perspective?
I thought it was okay. Like I didn't, I thought it was. I was surprised Vickie worked so much in the ring, actually. But yeah, I thought, did it not seem to you that they're really positioning Britt going the babyface route?
Yeah, weakest match of the night, in my opinion. And I don't often say that about ladies' matches on AEW because they're pretty dope matches for the most part. But this was the weakest match of the night. And it was because, first of all, who was the babyface team in this? Who were we supposed to cheer for in this? Right?
Yeah. I mean, the announcers put over like, oh, no, who was it? Jericho. Jericho said, like, she's getting that positive reaction. Like, it's undeniable that she's getting that positive. Like, Jericho made note of that on there. So I mean, maybe they're kind of positioning her as the babyface, but yeah, it's a gray area match where it's just like, we're like Britt's heelish, so we're not really supposed to cheer her. And then same kind of goes with Vickie and Nyla, so it's just like, yeah, you're kind of in that no woman's land.
And I understand the gimmick. We've got what's her face in there, Vickie Guerrero, and I get that it's sort of like a gimmicky match, but the thing is that, like, okay, Nyla Rose is clearly going to do the job for Britt Baker when they go one-on-one. Britt Baker just got the title, so Nyla Rose is going to be kind of like the first feather in her cap, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, we all know that that's going to be the conclusion. So why not have Nyla Rose pin her in the ring for this match? For this tag team match, right? I think that's the way to go, because then all of a sudden there are stakes in this match where it's like, hey, Nyla got her in this tag team match. Is she gonna get her in this title match? So that's kind of the idea, is you play these games with people. And like in this match, it was, first of all, who do we put the heat on? And second of all, why is Nyla Rose not going over against Britt? And now at the end, she did beat her ass. And so I get that. But in my opinion, she should get her in a pinfall victory. So then instruct the announcers to say, like, hey, she beat her. Like, she got her square in the middle of the ring, defeated her. Even if there's like tomfoolery and like an interference or something, have her pin her shoulders to the mat.
Yeah. I mean, you make a point. I think a lot of the thing too is, this is like a mat, and maybe it's just something that's an issue just in general. Like, is that we know what's going to happen, so we already know what's going to happen.
Whoa, Jonathan getting some go home heat with me right now, pal. Yeah. Eddie Kingston is a close personal friend.
And that's just a shout out to our man Eddie Kingston. No, but like, I don't know if Nyla's was a good pick for the starting off with Britt. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, maybe she is a good pick if they're positioning her over to be a baby face. Maybe that's it then.
Why would you take the hottest female heel in the business right now and just like snuff out that flame though? It's stupid.
She's over with the crowd. But
she's over, but she's over the way the NWO is over, where it's like she's a heel, but you like her because she's a very entertaining heel.
Yeah, no, I get that, and you are taking a risk if you try to turn her face and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't be doing that. They should have positioned her against somebody like Chris Statlander, somebody like Rio.
Yeah, like Chris Statlander would be a good one, because like people do like Chris Statlander, so it's just like, you got to get, heat her up a little bit, like, give her some time, and whether it's on the mic or something. But something that I did want to mention is next week at Road Rager, is this the first intergender tag match you're having on AEW? That's what it kind of made it sound like, right?
Yeah, I believe it is. Now that I think of it, I can't think of another one.
Yeah. So in Orange Cassidy tagging with Chris against the Bunny and Blade. I like this match, Mark. It could be a good takeaway. Like, it could steal the show, I think.
I think so too, and I think that it's mostly going to be due to the women's work in that. You know how I feel about Orange. I'm not as big a fan as you are. I think the Blade is kind of plateaued, but like I love Chris Statlander. I think that she gets better every time she goes out there. I think the Bunny is awesome, so I think that those two could really steal the show.
Yeah, It could be very interesting. I just like all four. So I think the Blade and Orange will do a very good job together too. I just think so. Okay, what else was there? Is there? Do we miss something here, Marcus? Conan is going to be in the corner of Santino Ortiz next week against FTR and Tully. That should be pretty cool. Japanese.
Cody versus QT. Steven is reminding us that's coming up.
Strap match. That's coming up.
The Yapapai Indian strap match.
Yapapai. The classic Yapapai.
I'm very sick of Cody and QT.
Yeah, will this be the blow up? I'm just curious where they're going to go with that. And
I think Cody needs a little time off. He just had a baby.
Yeah, he just had a baby. Maybe that's what
I suspect that QT is going to go over in that match.
That's a good point. I think it was Steven said maybe. Steven said get well a go 10th eye surgery, so that's why he's out.
Oh, and Rebel dislocated an kneecap.
Damn.
Yeah, due to Go rising star in my opinion, like the kind of guy that you could hang everything in the company on eventually. Yeah, I think that a Go is awesome. So hopefully his eye comes out okay, and he gets come back better than ever.
Yeah, no, there's a lot about him that's marketable and good in wrestling.
Good looking dude, good build, nice ring skills for being coming out of the boxing world. So yeah, the sky's the limit for a dude like him. Good promo too.
Yeah, real good promo. I think that's a big takeaway almost, right?
Yeah, I mean that's probably his main best feature is he's tremendous on the mic. But I mean, like let's not undersell how good he is in the ring, because he is good.
Yeah, no, he is good. Even just for starting out like that.
Even he passed a Jim Cornette test. That name keeps coming up, Cornette. But Jim Cornette thought he was great.
Yeah.
Hey Dom, DJ saying he thought Page might beat Omega, and then we have a heel Jungle Boy beat Page with a heel Jurassic Express faction. I want to see Luchasaurus as a heel, but not in that way.
And not Jungle Boy. I don't want to see Jungle Boy. I don't think him as a heel would just
Jungle Boy needs to be a babyface. Yeah,
it just would not work. But geez, what was I was just looking at something here. Oh yeah, Andrade next week against your boy Matt Sydal.
Yes.
Matt
something, which I thought was great.
Yes.
And Andrade, he obviously not a strong speaker of the English, but I thought that he did well, and kind of like he got a little low key heat by refusing to say Matt Sydal's name.
Yeah, and you know what? Him not speaking English still is fine. Like,
yeah, he's doing just fine. I think that he's going to be a big star.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Awesome look too, $1 million look on him, and there's a good heel for to challenge Hangman Page once he wins the strap.
Oh, good point. That is a good point. Then there was Marcus. A couple things about commentary. Let's start with this one. Obviously.
Jericho was great. Jericho's great.
Yeah.
For a second, Dominic, I was watching it, and I had sort of tuned out. I was like looking at something on my phone real quick, and I had tuned out. I heard JR say something, and I heard Jericho's voice, and I thought he was Jerry Lawler for a second.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like the tone of his voice sounded like Jerry Lawler. So I looked up all of a sudden. I was like, what the fuck? And then I remembered that Jericho was there. But yeah, I thought that they did an awesome job. And Jericho, like, if he decided he wanted to hang up the boots, put over MJF, and just say, okay, I'm retiring, but he would be great in the Jerry Lawler role.
Oh my gosh, he's so good because he puts people over. He adds context to things. He adds he mixes history in with it. He does a very good job. People were saying like somebody, I can't remember. Somebody's saying like he was annoying, and I was like, I don't buy that. I think he was great. Like he adds like more energy to it and excitement, and he's passionate about it. It's good. He was really, really good on commentary. So, and it was kind of cool. I think they utilized him very well this week.
And Dom, we got to talk about what Nesh is bringing up here. JR at the end of the show. That was a big thing.
That was a big thing, but I don't think.
Why don't you tell people what happened?
Okay, so I didn't even notice. Honestly, I really didn't notice. He said apparently at the end of the show, instead of AEW Dynamite, he said WWE Dynamite, and then obviously Twitter went nuts, and JR owned up to it and all that stuff, and he's like, I can't be doing that, and JR's a pro, so like he's gonna feel that way. But like, here's the thing. Is like he's been in WWE for how long? He's promoted WWE for how long? It's not that big of a deal.
So I think here's a good way to describe it is I dated this girl for a long time. And her name was Lindsay. And then I started dating a girl named Lacey. And you have no idea how many times I called Lacey Lindsay. And it's not because I missed Lindsay, not because I wanted to be with Lindsay. It was because I was so used to saying Lindsay, and it was LY, and it's like AEW, WWE. It's just like, I cannot imagine how hard it would be to keep those pieces together after it's like ingrained in your brain. Like, all right, we'll see you next time on WWE, whatever. So it would just be really, really hard to break away. Like, you have to be on top of your game at all times to
and not only this, look at it this way too. Look what JR also does every week is grilling JR, and he talks about WWE.
Right, it's nonstop, always
he talks
talking
about WWE but pretty much a weekly basis too. So it's just like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and Nesha is saying, and I've heard this from a number of people. She's saying she loves JR, but it comes a time when you have to say goodbye, and I understand the perspective. I truly do, because it's after a while. It's imagine Dom. Let's try to imagine. I'm trying to think of a good example, like Vern Gagne on commentary in like 1998 WCW. Like, probably wouldn't have been very good, right? Because it's like, yes, he has a lot to offer. Yes, he's got great knowledge, but like the wrestling has passed him by. It's not the same wrestling that he was involved in. And so I think that JR is kind of on the cusp, but I think that JR adds a lot of value to AEW still.
Yeah,
he's just really good at painting a picture and telling a story. So I think that him and Shivani are just like, they are gangbusters. They're great together. They play off each other really well. I'm not crazy about Excalibur. I know that like a lot, I tend to trash him. A lot of people seem to like him, but like, I'll tell you what, man, the perfect booth, in my opinion, at this point is, I'm sorry, but kick Excalibur out and let's have JR, Tony Schiavone, and Chris Jericho. I don't think you can beat it.
That's a good trio right there. Like, I don't think JR. I just don't get that. Like, you're on primetime television. There's two big promotions in wrestling. Just because you make a slip up like that, I really think JR adds a lot to the show.
I do too.
I do too. And not only that, but he's the checks to the balances in a lot of ways. Where if something he doesn't like, he'll kind of express it in a way. And that's what
he's not just a yes man. Like, he's made all the money he needs to make. At this point, he's doing it because he's passionate about it. So that's also what I really like about him, is that like you said, he's not just going to see something and be like, oh, well, that's just wrestling nowadays. Like, he has opinions, and they're strong opinions, and he's going to speak his mind and say, like, why are they doing this? Or like, how come he keeps doing that move if it never puts the guy away? And it's like, these are the things that we should be thinking about. And quite frankly, the talent should be thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's something like JR is like, he should be one of the guys you go to when it comes to, like, whether it's Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, like, he's the guy you should be.
Jerry Lynn.
He's one of the guys you should seek advice from to get, hey, what's your perspective on this?
I agree.
It's just like, no, I think JR still adds so much to commentary. To get rid of him would just be a disservice, I think, to wrestling.
Yeah, let me clarify what I said before. I said JR is like on the cusp. I think that came off wrong. I meant more like he's on the cusp of like, okay, he's older, but I don't think that he's too old to continue to do what he's doing. Like, yes, he's kind of ingrained in that old school wrestling mentality, but I do think that he still adds a lot of value to this version of pro wrestling.
Yeah, I think you can look at it from the perspective that he keeps it level. Like, he keeps it level. Like, where it's like, if you had somebody like, Michael Cole, I think is smarter than what Michael Cole is on television. Like, I think he knows wrestling better than, what the commentator Michael Cole is. But listen, Michael Cole is chirping what Vince McMahon wants. And that's why he's had the job for so long. So it's just like, he's doing his job, and he's doing a good job at doing his job that Vince McMahon wants. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing, or that's what you want. When you have somebody like JR that kind of, he's the gold behind the money, basically. You know what I mean? So it's like, if the dollar bill drops out, everybody relies on gold.
Right.
And so JR is one of those guys.
I agree. I think that's well put.
Thank you. Let's take a couple questions. Do we want to do MVPs? And is there something else I'm missing, Marcus? Did we miss anything?
I think we hit all the major points. We can do a couple questions, and then we'll jump into MVPs and ratings. Dominic DJ is saying, you think Julia Hart should be pushed as more of a singles competitor? Not yet. I think that she fits well with the Varsity Blondes. I think she's also really young. She's, what, like 19 or 20?
19, yeah.
Yeah, so she's still she's young. And green as grass. I think that she, in that kind of cheerleader role for those guys, is perfect. I think that they all blend really well together.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to tell that story.
I think ultimately she's going to help to get those two over as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Marcus, I wanted to mention this too before I forget. Hey, a picture popped up on social media. Who's a couple? But Jungle Boy and Anna Jay. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah. Good for them. I didn't really see what the big deal was. Everybody made like really super big deal out of it. It's just like, yeah, I mean, they're both young, attractive people and they work for the same company. It's like, it seems weird for them to not date. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, no, I'm happy for them.
I think you could make that something like on air. Like you could. I think, obviously she's part of Dark Order, but I mean, like, Jungle Boy and Anna.
I think you could have made something out of it when Dark Order was like this dark entity trying to recruit people into their cult. But now that Dark Order is just like the nerds in high school, it's just like, is it just like another cool guy?
No, but I mean, like, it could be like.
Oh wait, it's like this is like 16 Candles, where like the nerdy girl gets with like the attractive guy.
We're going the John Hughes route in this episode.
I think AEW is just basically turned into John Hughes movies.
Didn't they air a lot of the John Hughes movies on the TBS on TBS?
I think so. We're getting a little Breakfast Club Dom. We're getting some St. Elmo's Fire in there.
Man, I want some fucking
a little Home Alone.
Home Alone. I want a little Home Alone. Some of Joe Pesci. But no, like you could do like a Tarzan Jane kind of thing. What do you think about that?
I think it's fucking stupid, Dominic.
Do you? Anna Jane. Okay, let's see. Okay, what else was there? I saw something else DJ posted about. Oh, Sunny Kiss. Something about Sunny Kiss, I think. I know this is. Oh, here it is. I know this is off topic, but do you ever think Janelle will finally break free from Sunny Kiss? I just think Kiss is holding Janelle back. I think the other way around. I think Marcus too. And I don't think Joey Janelle is necessarily holding Sunny Kiss back. I just think they're just kind of in a stagnant. I think it's a cool team, and they could have maybe done something a little bit more with them. But Marcus and I talked about this way on the earlier episodes. We're big Sunny Kiss fans. I think there's a lot that he can do in like the TNT title picture in a lot of ways. If you build it up right, like I think there's a lot you can do with him.
I think Sunny Kiss is a great athlete. I think he's green as grass. And I think that he needs to improve his ring skills before we think about pushing him. But I see a lot of value in him. Again, if you want to start like a cruiserweight division, I think Sunny Kiss would be a star in a cruiserweight division. A good way to start to build somebody like him. I think the same thing for Joey Janelle. He's not a very big guy.
That's a good point. Like you could put him into this something to like in the cruiserweight division.
He does a hellacious elbow drop. I'll give him that, and I think he sells really well at times. Sometimes he oversells like a big fucking goof. But I think that's kind of the sweet spot for those two as of right now. You build them the same way that I remember week after week they weren't big stars, but I would get excited when Psychosis would come out, where I'd just be like, oh yeah, this guy's a lot of fun to watch. Oh cool. Oh yeah, he's trying to get in the cruiserweight title picture. Like, oh, that's sweet. So I think that's one way to add value to both of those competitors.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's still if they really wanted to, you could kind of cultivate them more like as a tag team presence if you want to do that. Like I think there's something neat about them being from Jersey and that odd couple kind of thing. I think there's a little bit that you can do with that a little bit more. At least have them like kind of like mix up with a couple tag teams or something like that. There's a little bit you can do with that. I don't think Sunny Kiss is being held back by. I don't think Joey Janelle is being held back by Sunny Kiss, and I don't think Sunny Kiss is holding Joey Janelle back either. I just think what we were just talking about. It's just like they can go a different routes, and it could work for them.
Dominic Nash is putting over your jungle couple situation big right now. She's a fan of the Tarzan Jane angle.
Yeah.
Just not my thing. I don't know.
Now the only issue with that is that, okay, Jungle Boy's a good looking dude. So it's like you don't want to indicate that Ricky Morton's going out with all these girls or is going steady with somebody when, the Rock and Roll Express are like, boom, like they're what bringing the girls in. You know what I mean? So you can kind of get the same thing with Jungle Boy. So, but I mean, at this point, people are going to be aware of stuff online and stuff like that. So it's just, hey, I think you could do a little bit of something like it could be a very fun couple. Hey, your next Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth happening.
Sure. Dominic DJ saying Janela would be a good opponent for Miro. I would like to see Miro do that thing where he like picks him up over his head and like hucks him into the crowd, maybe through a table. Maybe the table's on fire. I think something like that could be interesting. For Miro to sell for somebody like Janela just doesn't make sense. It would make sense to my eyeballs, right? I don't think it passes the eyeball test.
Yeah, like you got to be. It's just a certain thing that you really want to be careful with Miro, like in regards to how he's because I mean, like it didn't start off high, so it's like you're heating him up, and he's looking really good right now. Like,
now, that being said, Dominic, you and I talked, back over a year ago now, or maybe around a year ago now, when hey, hang on a sec, I gotta stop my cat.
Okay, yeah, no, but.
Okay, I'm back. So you and I talked about this maybe like a year ago or so when Cody got squashed by Brody Lee. It was kind of like a Batman Bane situation where Bane like kind of breaks Batman and then Batman has to like kind of climb up out of the gutter.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think that Miro could kind of like break Joey Janela on his way to a feud with somebody like Cody, right? Where it's just like, holy shit, this dude like ripped Janela apart, injured him, stretcher job, ambulance, all that stuff, and now he's coming after Cody Rhodes, our hero. Like that's a little scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that could be a good way to pair those two, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I'm more with you on like I like the cruiserweight stuff. You really turned me on that, like over the course of this series of podcasts we've been doing.
Yeah. Hey, Dominic, Jonathan, he's not a fan of Eddie, not a fan of our pal Eddie Kingston. So yeah, we kind of talked about that at the top of the show. I'm not sure if Jonathan was in there yet,
No.
but in a nutshell, I think that it's just good competition. Like you could say the same. Like so, when Eric Bischoff was calling out Vince McMahon to be saying, hey, meet me at Slamboree 1998 and I'll fight you man to man. Like, let's do a shoot fight. Just show up and I'll kick your ass. Like he was saying that. I think you could say the same thing, Jonathan, back then, right? Where you could say like, hey man, Eric Bischoff has been in pro wrestling for like 4 years. Vince McMahon has spent his entire life in pro wrestling. How dare he have the nerve to call this guy out? Like, what an asshole, what a piece of shit. And it's like, that's the point. That's the whole idea is like, yeah, what an asshole. What a piece of shit. You're right. I'm not saying that Eddie Kingston is an asshole or a piece of shit. I'm saying that the idea is that like you want the guys on the other channel to be like, hey, fuck that guy, and you want our fans, AEW fans, to be like, hey, yeah, Eddie's right. Yeah. Fuck WWE. This kind of competition is what made wrestling good, so good in the late 90s. So I say we need more of it. I wouldn't mind Joey Janela coming on and trashing WWE.
Yeah.
Like everybody come out and then let's do it on WWE. Come trash.
That's what Joey's gimmick should be, is Dirt Sheet Joey or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, the new paint of coat on him as well.
Yeah.
Dom, we should jump into ratings and MVPs.
Yes.
Okay. Nesha is saying she's giving the show an 8.5. Looks like DJ's pulling a strong 9.5 this week. Holy shit. What a score from DJ.
A good one, huh? Jeez.
Yeah. Well, Dominic, my Meltzer rating out of 10 this week. Good show. Like I said, I think that the women's match was the weakest show of the bunch, which does not happen often. I think the women have been putting on some real bangers of matches recently. That being said, I thought it was a good show. I didn't think it was like the best, but I thought they did a good job. So with that disclaimer, I'm giving them a solid 7.3 this week, Dominic.
It's pretty good. That's a good Marcus Meltzer rating right there.
Yeah. I think that this is 2 weeks in a row that they've been in the sevens. They're just consistent, steady, doing a good job.
Yeah. Who's your MVP?
I got to go with MJF this week, Dom. I think that MJF showed out against Sammy. I love the back and forth, the whole, like, hey, if you can do this shit, I can do it too. And that was, like I said, the theme of that match was like, hey, I can do this shit too. And I thought that MJF looked like $1,000,000. He came out as the winner, as he should have. And I thought he did a hell of a job.
Yeah,
and again, it's building him up for this feud with Jericho, and Jericho, undeniable legend in the business, and so now with MJF coming in, he's got a little extra shine on him.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. DJ says Kingston and Penta, a friend of the show, Kingston.
It's a friend of the show, Eddie Kingston. He's saying that they're the MVPs this week,
Yeah.
and I mean, hard to argue that one either, right?
Yeah, right.
I probably should have said, Kingston always calls Penta his best friend. Off the air, he did say that Dominic and I are his best friends. I'm kidding, of course. I probably should have pulled the trigger and said Eddie Kingston was the MVP this week. Dominic, who's your MVP?
It was tough to not give it to Eddie because he delivered. He
had a great match. Here's the other thing that he did and does that nobody else does. So, like, for example, at the start of the match, Penta comes out with his buddy, and they're like posing and they're doing the whole thing, and Eddie just breezes right past him, goes to the ring, like, okay, time to go to work. And so it's just those little nuances that Eddie really pays attention to, and it's just like, man, this guy's awesome. This is a bad dude. He's gonna whoop him.
How did he finish the match? He spinning back fist.
Yep, and he told you, he's like, I'm gonna get one of them.
I'm gonna get one of them. I'll get him,
and he did.
He got him.
And he's like Babe Ruth calling the fucking home run.
Yeah. My MVP, I'm giving it to. I thought about it when you talked about it, Jericho. I just thought he added so much to the show, and a great way to end the show in Jacksonville. Like, it made, it just made sense. It fit.
He took a real dad bump at the end, though, Dom, where like he got thrown off that stage floor, and he like landed on his feet and then like kind of rolled. And I was just like, ugh, Jay, Chris, come on. But he was
great on commentary. The commentary, man, they got it for me.
Yeah, the commentary was good. The dad bump was not good.
So, Marcus, how do they follow you on Twitter, huh?
Oh boy, you can follow me on the Twitter. Usually it's underneath my name here, but Dominic dropped it in the dirt.
It's been gone. We've had this new thing forever now.
No, it's fine. You can follow me at Marcus P. DeAngelo on Twitter. You can follow this podcast at 2 Dynamite Dudes on Twitter. Dominic, how do they follow you? How do they follow WrestleZone?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. You can follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. Go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling news needs. And hey, I got some stuff up. Obviously, Marcus and we plugged it already. Our Eddie Kingston interview. Man, so much fun again.
Great, gracious with his time, funny guy, great perspective. Definitely, we've been joking about it, calling him our friend, but in all seriousness, it was a great interview, super insightful. Check it out if you get a chance.
Yeah, it was really good, just down to earth, awesome. And hey, I interviewed the Fonz, literally the Fonz. Hey. Now, I've been a fan of Henry Winkler since I was 11 years old, like 6th grade. Obsessed. I remember watching. Marcus and I had a Gateway 2000, and we got like a sample CD, and they had Weezer's Buddy Holly music video on there. If you're familiar with that music video, it's Happy Days. And I remember asking this computer guy that came over to our house to help us troubleshoot with the computer, how do I print the screen of the Fonz, like going A in that? He didn't know how to do it.
But some computer guy, who was this fucking
computer guy? Now I know how to do that easy.
Oh my god, yeah, it'd be a piece of cake.
Yeah, easy. Anyways, so Henry Winkler happened to be in this movie in 1978 called The One and Only. It's a pro wrestling movie. Well, yeah, it's about an actor who becomes a pro wrestler to make ends meet in New York City, and it takes place in the 50s, and that's Henry Winkler doing it. And it's a Carl Reiner film, and a lot of good character actors, a lot of cameos from legendary wrestlers. So
yeah, Roddy Piper, Chavo Sr.
Chavo Sr. He plays a role in there. Gene LaBelle is the one who trained Henry Winkler in the ring. But really fun conversation. It's not up yet. It will be up yet. It will be up soon. But I got to interview him earlier in the week. It's such a very, very nice person. Did not have to take the interview. anything like that, but he did, and it was so great. So great. So look forward to that. It was a landmark interview. I'm very happy with it. So that'll be coming out soon. Nesha, have a great night too. Thank you for everybody for
thank you
following
for joining us. Absolutely. We're almost through our closeout shtick. Bear with us.
Yeah, I interviewed Cheeseburger, or the world famous CB as he's now known. Tomorrow, 4th of July, they're doing GCW Backyard Wrestling 3. That's on Fight TV if you wanted to check that out. But it's his birthday. Happy birthday to CB. So he's doing some really cool stuff in Ring of Honor, really adjusting his style, going to the pure style, which is a really cool way for that Ring of Honor is doing that. I hope it gets more of a highlight in the industry because it's a really neat thing. And then, geez, we have some other interviews up. Oh, dang it. I should pull these up. Bill interviewed somebody that was really good too recently. But I have an interview. I don't want to spoil it yet. I don't like saying it until I actually do the interview. But I got a pretty darn big interview coming up here on Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. Hey, we talked about him earlier. Chris Sabin. Spoke to Chris Sabin. So take a look at that. Yep, as I said, CB, lots of good stuff on WrestleZone. So take a look at there. Colin Tessier does a great job reviewing SmackDown, NXT, all that stuff. John Clark joins him. Robert D. Felice joins him. So we got some good stuff kicking on WrestleZone. And hey, Marcus, we got one more show that we do, don't we?
Yeah, that's right. We do WCW Rewritten. I know a lot of you guys in the stream have probably heard us plug it a million times, but I'll plug it again. It's we're rewriting WCW, so definitely go back and check that out. We're in 1998 right now. We just finished up Uncensored 98 and the subsequent Nitro following Uncensored. So now we're building towards Spring Stampede, baby, and we've got some huge angles going on. If you're a WCW fan back in the 90s, I don't think you'll find a podcast that you enjoy much more.
It's a lot of fun. We talk WCW. It's all WCW, but we talk about like a lot of stuff that made us like WCW and all the surrounding stuff around it, whether it was Revenge or action figures or whatever.
It's a nostalgic podcast.
Very nostalgic podcast.
Yeah, so definitely give that a listen. You can follow WrestleZone.com at WrestleZone.com on Twitter. Go to WrestleZone.com for all of your wrestling news needs. Best in the biz right now. And, Dominic over there, best wrestling journalist in the biz, best interviewer in the biz, best wearer of glasses in the biz.
Glasses. Hey, check out my headband too. It's Wolverine X-Men.
But yeah, guys, we really appreciate all of you joining us. We really do. Always cool to interact with all of you. Definitely shoot us questions, comments on Twitter. Nesha, she's been great communicating with us all week. And yeah, you guys are always welcome to ask us questions on Twitter. We will address them on the podcast. Yeah,
we'll address them on the podcast. If you interact with me on Twitter, I'll interact back with you. You guys do great. Like, it's great to see this familiar names in the mix here and engaging with us week in and week out. So.
No doubt about it. We like to think of, all of us as wrestling fans, we all have very similar interests, and we're all kind of part of this little family, a little community, cohesive unit. So, let's continue to discuss it. We love talking to you guys about it. We love watching wrestling. We love talking about wrestling.
And we're flattered. We're very flattered. It's nice to have. So, thank you guys. And hey, you know what? We'll see you next week on To who, Marcus?
Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good